Live audience. When planes were first used in war, air combat was a personal affair. Pilots would directly control every aspect of their craft and fight like that, pilot to pilot. They could often see each other eye to eye. This is no longer possible. Even as early as the 80s, air combat had become so complex and multifaceted that to expect a single pilot to fly unaided, he'd be unable to control his aircraft, let alone communicate, find, identify, target, and engage even a single enemy. And if you add any more variables into that, it becomes completely unreasonable to expect a single pilot unaided to handle that. This is the reality of modern air combat. The good news is that the basic principles and concepts of air combat are much more approachable. Not to be too self-deprecating, but if I can get it, so can you. I've done my best to source the visual aids I'm using, but official sources for the theory that goes into this falls into one of two categories. Either it's still classified and I can't use it or access it, or it's a leaked internet document from the University of Beijing, neither of which is particularly helpful. The topic of modern air combat is mostly irrelevant to each of us here, and the only reason to learn more about it is because you want to. This is a good thing. If this rather niche knowledge were to become commonplace in the public eye or require learning for some reason, it would probably be because someone had started a war that was driving this interest. This may have happened while I was writing the script even. I am at most a hobbyist. When I was a kid, my favorite games were flying games and flight simulators, and as I got older, they got more complex and immersive. When I graduated high school, my dream job was to be an aerospace engineer. But I ran into the critical issue of I'm bad at math. And so this has remained a hobby for me. The three main concepts and principles of modern air combat are, well, the first is higher, faster, and farther. The second is the same, but lower in the other direction. And the last is you can leave at any time. These concepts boil down to maximizing the range of your own missile, minimizing the range of your opponent's missile, and maintaining a safe distance between both your and your opponent's aircraft to keep you guys from mutually killing each other, which is exactly what it sounds like. You mutually kill each other. Higher, faster, and farther can be easily described. If you throw a ball, it'll go a distance you're used to. If you're standing on top of a ladder or a house when you throw a ball, it'll go a lot farther. And in the same way, if you're in a car that's going at 100 miles an hour and you throw the ball, it's also going to go farther. And so if you do both of those things at the same time, that transfers over to missile combat. The missile will go a lot farther if you're really high and you're going really fast. There's also the matter of air density. The higher you are, there's less air up there. For example, you can't breathe above 2,000 or 3,000 meters. This isn't because there's no oxygen up there, there's just less of it. And by the same token, because there's less of it, there's less drag and friction interfering with missiles. So, you've got your target, you've launched your first missile, now what? Well, if your opponent doesn't see you, and they don't see the missile, then that's it. You just wait for a minute, and they'll get hit. If they know that you're there, and they see the missile, then it's now their task to defend against this missile. You can no longer reliably dodge missiles. So, if the missile can reach you, it's going to hit you. This is bad. And so you have to ensure that the missile cannot reach you. There are several ways you can go about this. The first is just running away. As you can see here, range table for missiles. None of it's really important. But range hot, you're driving right at a missile. Range cold, you're running away from the missile. Massive difference in numbers there. These are all highly variable. As you can see, the same missile can go 15 kilometers or 60 kilometers. Launch parameters have a large effect on these missiles. The second method you can use to ensure a missile does not hit you is be as low as possible. The lower you are, the less range a missile will have because it has to deal with drag more. As you can see, missile range gets higher the higher you go. If you go lower, less range. Much easier to defeat the missile. Defending is a commitment. Defending a missile is a commitment of time and energy. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds, sometimes it takes a minute, and it drains your advantage and position in a fight. If you leave your opponent unopposed during this time, you give them every advantage. Not only are they now faster than you, they're also higher, and you're going in the wrong direction to fight back. There's two-ish methods to go about dealing with this. The first is just keep running. Just go on. Your enemy has to commit to chasing you, and this means they can't do anything else, which is good enough most of the time. Unless you're North Korean, in which case doing this will probably get you shot. Don't be North Korean. As you can see, the guy ensures the missile does not hit him by running away. The second method of going about this is to stay in the fight and shoot back before you defend against the missile. This usually results in both participants in a fight firing on each other and then immediately defending each other's missiles. This typically continues in a process until someone gets hit by a missile. And sometimes it'll take one exchange, sometimes it'll take 5 exchanges. The last possibility is that no one makes any mistakes, and the cycle continues until either both planes are out of ammo, they're out of missiles, or they're out of fuel and they have to go home, or neither of them are in a position where they can successfully defend against whatever cycle of missile they're on. This usually results in a mutual kill. As you can see, both aircraft launch a missile and immediately defend against it, their opponents. If you're in a position where you're mutually going to get killed, there's not much left for you to do, which goes into the last part of the concept of you can leave at any time, which is physically leave the plane. You can eject. At this stage, nothing more of your doing will have any effect on the outcome of the fight. Your plane is going to get hit by the missile, and so better you're not there when it happens. In conclusion, the basic concepts and principles boil down to maximizing your own missile's range, minimizing the range of your opponent's missile, and maintaining a safe distance to avoid mutually killing each other. Launch parameters, both altitude and speed, have a large effect on the range of your missiles. Reliably defending against the missile requires ensuring that the missile cannot reach you, and typically this process of engaging a target, launching, and then defending repeats until it can no longer be sustained by either pilot or aircraft, in which case one of them loses. Now that you know these basic concepts and principles of modern air combat, you can explore this niche at your own leisure. And if war does break out in the skies, you'll be better equipped to understand it. And that's all.